All right. What's up, guys? Hold on. Just working on my my little tripod here in just a second. All right. So, God dang it. I'm clearly not that intelligent. Just, that's a disclaimer, because I can't figure out how to work this motherfucker. So let me figure that out real quick while everybody jumps in. And then we'll get to talking about some things. Got a lot to talk about. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, brother. Sitting here with my buddy, DJ. Say hi, DJ.
What's going on, guys?
So, guys, we're going to do some Q&A here. I'm not sure exactly how this works because I don't do lives that often, but I'm going to try to figure this out. So I think I tap this little button here. So you guys can tap that little question mark thing down at the bottom of the page, and we can ask some questions. I know there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now, especially for people's health and also for people's livelihoods. And I'd like to, normally I would reserve this kind of information for people who are in Arte Syndicate, which is our entrepreneurship group. But the truth is, people need to hear these things. And I'm going to maybe try to bring Ed on at some point during this live if he has the ability to do so. That would be cool. Let's see here. Get a lot of requests, guys. A lot of requests to come on. All right. So, questions. Questions. All right. Do I think the U.S. will go on full lockdown? We'll just start this right up, won't we? Guys, you know what? I think there's parts of the country that will definitely be on full lockdown, absolutely. And I do think it's necessary because we have people that just don't understand what the problem really is. And the problem isn't that this thing is going to kill everybody. The problem that it's causing here is that it spreads so fast that the hospitals and the emergency personnel get overwhelmed. All right. And when the hospitals and the emergency personnel and the equipment get overwhelmed, that means that people cannot be treated. And this is causing enough sickness and enough serious sickness to where when you can't treat people, this thing can kill you. So that's the danger. The danger here is overwhelming the hospitals to where they don't have the equipment to treat people, which is why we're having to lock people down, okay? Because they don't understand the problem. And the reason they don't understand the problem is because there hasn't been very clear facts that have come out of the media, as I've been very vocal about. So, yes, I do think there's a lockdown coming for a lot of places. But I think you guys, honestly, I think it's a good idea for everybody to do exactly what the CDC and what the administration is asking, which is keep your distance. Only essential things need to happen in your life. Okay? And right now we can all, I think I don't think this is a crazy thing to panic about. I think if you look at it from a logical standpoint, that all we're trying to do is not overcrowd the medical personnel in the facilities that we have, so that people can get the treatment that they need, it becomes a non-issue. It's not that scary. It just says, hey, this is something we got to deal with. So yeah, I do think that. I do think we will see that. And if it happens, I don't think that you guys should panic at all. Another thing that will happen in the next week, for sure, is that when testing becomes widespread, the number of infections is going to go way up. And the media is going to hype this super hard as a fear-based message. There's nothing to be afraid of when those numbers go way up. The likelihood of those numbers being up already is probably really likely. We just don't know because there's not a lot of tests. So it's important for you guys to set the example in your communities and with your people that whenever this number goes up, you're reassuring the people who are very scared right now in your communities and your families that, hey, look, this is normal and you need to understand why. Okay, we don't know how many people have this test or have this virus. And the likelihood of it being much more widespread is highly likely because most people, 85%, don't show symptoms. Okay, so that means you could carry it and give it to someone and not know it. And that's the danger here. Okay, so guys, I think it's very, very responsible and respectful because a lot of people, they don't, you know, I've seen some people be like, yeah, dude, it's just some old people. You know what? Those old people built what the fuck we enjoy now. And they deserve the respect of us being courteous to them. You know, that's how I feel about it. I think we all owe that to them. So that's what I think about that. So I'll move on to the next question. Chris, yes, I did. I'm actually thinking about, I may be retiring my Just for Men. I held off and I fought it for I gave it a good fight, man, like a real good fight for about 10 years. I started getting my gray beard when I was about 30. And, you know, it might be time to retire the Just for Men, which means Just for Men is going to have a financial crisis as well. So, next question. All right, this is a very big question. I try to answer it as honestly as I can. Guys, this is a very difficult time for small business. If you listen to my podcast this week, we address this. There's two ways to look at this. And first of all, let me give you some perspective on some of the things that have happened to my business, okay? As a lot of you know, we started as a very, very, very small operation in 1999 in Springfield, Missouri. 2 weeks after we opened up, we were broken into. All of our inventory was dumped out onto the floor, and all of it, every single bottle. And then the people who broke in took the Culligan water bottles, because we had a Culligan cooler, and mixed it into a giant shake on the floor and vandalized our store. And we didn't have insurance, we didn't have money, we didn't have shit. Okay, but the one thing that we did have, we had paid our rent up front for a year because our landlord asked us to. And so what ended up happening was because he made us pay a year in advance, we still had the store even though we didn't have any money. So what we were able to do was we were able to go out and get other jobs and work at our other jobs, which are bartending, bouncing, and working at a gym. And then we went out and had to earn the money back to restock our store. So for a number of weeks, we had zero product. So that was the first thing that we went through. And I could name time after time after time after time. We could say 9/11. We could say all the conflicts. We could say the economy crashing 2007, 8, 9, 10. One time we had tornadoes rip through St. Louis, Missouri in the dead of summer, where all of our stores are located at the time, and take the power out for almost 2 weeks, okay, of the whole city, not just our stores. Same thing happened in the wintertime with an ice storm. I can't remember if it was the year before that or the year after it, but it happened back to back. We survived that. We made it through all of these things, the H1N1 situation, pandemic. We made it through all these things with the same attitude, okay? And this is the attitude I would encourage you to start to cultivate, which is this. And I can tell you this is a fact for sure. Right now, a lot of people in business are hurting, and there's going to be a lot of people that will close up shop. And there's going to be a lot of people who just quit, all right? And if you can stay focused to move forward through this scenario, you're going to have less competition when everything comes back to normal, okay? So what I would encourage you to do is to get creative, think about how you can continue to keep the doors open, think about how you can adapt to operate, and do as much as you can. And if there's nothing that you can do, what I would do is I would go around and help other businesses and people that need help right now. And then when things come back out, these people are going to be able to remember that, and it's going to create relationships that will help you grow after this. Okay? So this is an attitude as an entrepreneur of opportunity, and that's how you need to see it. You need to see it as, fuck, this sucks, but afterwards, I'm going to have less competition, I'm going to have more tools in my war chest, and I'm going to have the ability to go forward and be more effective as a business owner. So that's the attitude that you need to take with that. So I'm going to move on to the next question. This is a great question. Guys, not everything's closing, all right? You're still going to be able to go to the grocery store. You're still going to be able to go to the pharmacy. There's going to be essential businesses that are still open to help you live a normal life, okay? Your health food stores, your local health food stores, those stores have been deemed by Homeland Security as essential businesses that sell vitamins and all the things that you're needing to stay healthy and all those things. Those are all available. A lot of stuff will close, but a lot of those companies are adapting so that they can still serve you via curbside takeout or things like that. So, guys, there's all kinds of things that are happening right now, but when you say lockdown, there's exceptions to this. So let's remember that as well. Just a few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks on the 75 hard book. See if we can bring somebody in right now. Whoa!
What's up, brother?
Whoa, my man!
How are you, brother?
You look so good, dude.
Stop it.
You're always looking so handsome.
Bro, you're doing a great job. I'm sitting here. This is the best live I've seen through this whole Corona crisis thing. So I thought I'd at least sit next to you.
We're we spoke earlier in the week. Normally we would reserve some of these things for our group, but I think it's important that people. I think this is too important to do that. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
and
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, bro. We're trying to keep people calm, keep people understanding that this isn't the end of the world. And, let's hit some questions for the people. I'm going to throw some up here.
Okay, cool.
This is a good question. After we get through this, what adjustments would you make moving forward? What do you think on that, buddy?
Well, it's been, there's something to be learned in everything, right? So, for me right now, I'm learning there's been a technology play that I'm not using in a couple of my businesses I should have been using. So, everybody uses Zoom. We use it in Arte. But for me, there's some adjustments I'll make. For most people, I've been telling people for a while, there's going to be an economic adjustment probably come at some point. One of the lessons I think for everybody here is if you are hurting, and we hate that you are, is that you'll never put yourself in this situation again, that you're going to save money. That's one lesson for everybody is save money, because this may not be the last time there's an interruption like this of some type. I was just literally talking to a buddy of mine in Washington. and Northern Washington, not Seattle, where all the trouble is. And I'm like, how are things there? He goes, we're used to this. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, we have Mount St. Helens. We were locked down for weeks when Mount St. Helens happened. You know, there was another nuclear issue where he was. He's like, look, these things are going to happen every once in a while. You just need to be prepared. So for me, it's just more and more preparation. And in my businesses, there should have been a little bit more of a technology play in place to prepare for something like this. So for me, it's that. I don't know what it is for you. You and I have been talking 8 times a day. We've been pretty prepared, both of us, for this. So
yeah, you know, DJ and I were talking on the way up here, actually. You know, I think one of the things I want to talk about some of the good things that are going to come of this. And one of the good things I think that will come of this is that a lot of these younger entrepreneurs who are just, you know, they're living like ballers off the cash flow, and they're realizing like, holy shit, dude, I can't do that, because there's always a chance that it might go away. And so what I think is something for people to take note of is like, hey, look, man, you always have to be smart with managing your money, and you can't just go out because you made $2,000 and spend $2,000 on a car. Okay.
Yep.
And so I actually, you know, you and I, we've had situations, we're old enough to where we've seen some similar things happen where we've been totally uncertain about what's going to happen. And luckily, in my case, a lot of those situations happened when I was fairly new in business, and it taught me early about managing cash flow and always having reserves, and also not just in my business, but my personal finance as well, you know?
Yeah, that's something probably people would be surprised. People ask a lot of times what you and I talk about when, you know, privately, and a lot of it is this topic. We talk a lot about saving money, living below our means, how much you got saved, brother, how much cash you got on hand. You know, when we do make purchases, both of us purchase almost everything cash. And that's not something everybody can do. We understand that, but that should be a lesson that everybody takes away from this. And there really is. You're so right. Both of us have been through this, whether it was, you know, whether it was 9/11 or '08 or even back before that. The truth is, you guys, this is going to come roaring back at some point, whether it roars back in 3 weeks or 3 years, it's going to come roaring back. And if you're saving cash once we get through this, you're going to be in a position to build a lot of wealth right now. There's potentially a lot of wealth could be built during this time right now. If we can get around this corner in the next few weeks, there's going to be tremendous upside in WFG. So I'm reading guys on here talking about WFG on there, and it's making me think about it. But in every business that I have right now, I'm like, there's upside in every one of them. And I know you feel that way for First Form and your other businesses too.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I try, you know, guys, I try to really learn from all the situations. I personally believe, and so does Ed, that, you know, these sorts of situations, as hard as they are, I get a little bit excited about them as an entrepreneur, okay? And I don't want that to be taken as an insensitive thing, but I get excited because I know I'm about to learn a whole bunch of stuff. And I know the stuff that I'm about to learn is going to make me more effective when this passes. And it will pass. So I really think for a lot of people that are struggling right now, it's as simple as changing the perspective, right? Like, holy shit, the world's crashing to, man, you know what? I got an opportunity here to learn a whole bunch. Yeah. And while it might be a pain in the ass and you might lose a year or two of progress, you're not really losing it because you've learned these new tools, and you're going to get that year or two back in less time because you already know that. So like a lot of people, they're thinking like, fuck, dude, I've got 10 years in this. This is going to put me back to zero. No, it's not. You'll get back to where you were quickly because you're a different person than you were when you started on day one.
Yes,
so,
100%. I totally agree with you. So, guys, there's a lot to learn. It was a great question, though. One thing that I've been asking myself, just personally, like, it's so hokey when this is said, and it's tested in times like these, like, hey, everything's happening for me, not to me, you know, and I say that, and like, that doesn't mean this isn't a bad time. This is a bad time. I would wish this didn't happen, clearly. What I'm saying, though, is the powerful people who grow, ask the best questions during this time. That's why it's so cool you're doing Q&A. And one of the questions has to be, and this may seem hokey, but ask yourself this: what is this trying to teach me? What is this teaching me? It could be any number of things. It could be teaching you how important your family is, or, you know, how we don't really know everything we think we know. It could be teaching you to save money. It could be teaching you to innovate in your business. It could be some of you that aren't entrepreneurs. This will be the last time you're going to get caught without a second business or your own business. It could be all kinds of different things. But instead of trying to predict every single thing that's going to happen, ask yourself the better question, which is, what is this trying to teach me? For me, there's been lots of lessons in this too. And you know, the other thing that's been cool, all the people who have reached out to me, are you okay? You doing all right? Like I know you're doing it. I kind of figure out who your friends are now too, don't you? Right? So there's a lot to be learned through this too. And let's just, you know, let's just make sure we all treat each other kindly. I just put a story out about this. I'm getting these DMs from these great people that work in grocery stores, and some people being incredibly rude and mean to them. And these ladies are crying and they're breaking their car. Then they got to go back in there, a checker in a grocery store. They're leaving their children at home, right? Like, let's be kind to each other during this time, especially the people that are taking care of us. So a lot to be learned now.
Yeah, man. I've seen both. I've seen a lot of people freaking out and being ridiculous, and then I've seen a whole bunch of like extra good. I feel like that these situations ultimately bring out the best things of what America stands for. I know we're talking to many people, and a lot of them don't live here, but Ed and I do live here, and so when we talk about where we live, we talk about America. So.
Right.
You know, I believe that the culture of America is kindness. I believe the culture of America is doing the right thing for the most part. And I think the biggest problem that happens in general, let's say outside of these scenarios, is that people take for granted how good things are. And if we could just maybe stop and remember this happening and remember how we treated each other. I mean, dude, do you remember how it was after 9/11, bro?
Yes.
Like, it was awesome.
Everybody came together. Yep.
As bad as that was my favorite time to be an American, because everybody had America's interests in mind. We put aside the petty insults and the petty differences and the arguments over political correctness and this and that and this. And we say, you know what? It's fucking us and it's them.
Yeah.
And we're not taking that. And dude, I see a unity coming here. I see bipartisan unity on the horizon here, because
I do too. I see it. You see it often, and the outliers. When we see the outlier stuff, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we call it out when we see it too. But yeah, 100%. It does remind me of that. It does remind me of that time where people are coming together. They don't care what your political beliefs are. This virus does not care what gender, what your sexual preference is, your religion is, your ethnicity is. It could care less. So we're all in this together.
Yeah. Dude, I'm going to pull up a new question here so we can, we'll switch up. It's a deep question. Do we think this will become the next Great Depression? Absolutely, positively not. I do not believe that.
I don't either.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro. Go ahead. I'll go after you. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think just like we saw the market go, we're going to see it go the minute this thing is over, because I know, and Ed, you know as well, and we spoke about this, the guys who have withdrawn and pulled their money off the table, now they're getting salivation about where this thing's going to stop, because they know the opportunity. And so once all these guys who have liquid funds go back into the market has to rise. So, but I think the big problem, the if, like there's an if in that equation, and that the if is, how does the current administration address the loss in revenue for the middle-class entrepreneur? And so how do they, if they do the right thing with helping bridge the gap between like lost sales for some of these restaurants and nail salons and hair salons and all these little places that people forget about, but actually are the economic structure of our whole economy. They're the fiber, the moral fiber that holds it together. Not moral fiber, but you know what I mean. Economic fiber. There you go.
Sure.
That holds it together. I think if they address that properly, we will see the market come right back. That's. I mean, what do you think?
I do too. I don't think it'll be well, I certainly hope that it's not a depression. One of the things that will determine that is the length of this. So I feel like the next week or two, more cards will be sort of dealt in the hand that we know we need to have played. And if we can get that curve flattened, I think you'll begin to see, people have a chance to return to work. One of the biggest things, the reason I don't believe it'll become a Great Depression, is that there was great economic structure in the country prior to this. So the Depression, there were all kinds of conditions that led to the Great Depression. This is a one-time event, at least in the United States. This isn't true worldwide. Worldwide, there was an economic recession that already started. But in the United States, our GDP was growing, unemployment was almost nothing, wage growth was actually going up again. So most of the things that, that you measure the economy by in our country were incredible just 30 days ago. And if this is a 2-week to 30-day type interruption, then I believe we can get it back. If it's a 6-month type interruption, then yeah, we're in for something very, very, very scary. And I've been talking to, I had Stephen Moore, who's Trump's economic advisor on my show. Austin Goolsbee was Obama's. And I think both of them agree that it's the length of this that will determine the depth of the economic impact. But there's certainly going to be one, no question about it. But do I think it'll be a depression? No, because I think that we'll be on the other side of the worst of this within 30 days, the other side of the worst of it. Not that it's gone, but my hope, and if I were predicting, and I'm guessing, we'll be on the other side of the worst of it within the next 30 days, and that we can recover to some extent from it because of that. So that's just my opinion.
I think you're 100% right.
Yeah.
But we also have spoke about this.
Right. Right.
Here's a question. Why won't the media tell us how many have recovered, and how do we get them to report the full accuracy? I'm assuming that's what that says. To get the media to report actual facts without opinions intertwined and the will to want to be the next, headline clip. You have to understand, guys, a lot of these people that are giving you opinions on the internet or on TV, they were trained to read a fucking teleprompter. Okay, I want you to remember that. So when we have, all these opinions, and the people who own the networks are able to force a certain narrative into the news, we have a problem with that. And the reason we have a problem with that, for any other reason, is safety. We've all learned through this scenario that we have a hard time understanding what exactly is going on. And the reason we have a hard time understanding exactly what's going on is because the actual data is not being presented. And the reason that data is not being presented is because certain people feel certain ways about certain candidates or parties. So you have to be smart enough to, and look, this is not a political agenda I'm informing here. You have to be aware enough to know that the people who are delivering you the words that you see on TV have an interest to deliver those words in a certain way. And in my opinion, you and everybody else will be far better off working to do their own research, because right now we're having a hard time getting the facts. It's sending people into a dangerous panic. We're seeing fights at the grocery store when there's no food supply chain issues at all. We're seeing people commit suicide. My personal opinion is we'll have more suicides from the financial destruction of this event than we will have deaths from the virus. If you want the news to tell the truth, you have to start being vocal when you know it's bullshit. And you have to remember this when you go to vote. That's what it takes, because none of us on here have enough money or power to take that on. We just don't. And that's the problem. So how do we get them to tell the truth? We have to demand the truth as a unified group across the country. And that's it. And we're really far from that right now. So I think it's going to take some time. What's your opinion on that?
I think part of it is that they don't know either. And so,
yeah.
For me, this may sound sad, but I'm not really attempting to get my information right now from the media. Doesn't mean I'm not watching television. I am. I'm checking it. But I'm going right to the CDC. I'm listening to Fauci. I'm listening to the people that are telling us directly. The good news about this is that every single day they are updating us directly into the camera. When they're done doing that, this is just my own takeaway. I don't really care what the media's opinion, left or right, is of what they've told us or whose fault it is. I just get my update every day from the CDC. This guy Fauci, he's 79 years old, but he seems sharp as hell. He's giving it to us direct every single day. I listen to him. That's my information. The rest of it is, it seems to me, just commentators speculating or opinionating on what they've said or why they've said it. And so I don't have time for that noise. Tell me from the CDC here in the United States, and tell me from Fauci, who's sort of running this whole thing, right? That's sort of who I'm listening to. And to me, it seems like at least he's trying to be transparent. He's trying to be fair. And I don't think a 79-year-old man in his position has any agenda other than trying to help us. So that's my takeaway. Some of you could decide that you don't trust the CDC or Fauci, and that's you. I'm not on here to tell you what you think. I'm here to tell you what I think, and that's just what I'm doing. So
yeah, I think you're right about that. I think what I want to do with people is just get you to not just buy into the headline. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
When you buy into the headline, you get freaked out. And I'm going to tell you, both Ed and I are probably the least likely people that I know of to ever get like, holy shit, dude, this is the end of the world. And even him and I are like, fuck, dude, like this is some crazy stuff,
Yep.
once in a while. And then we talk about the facts, and then we kind of just work it down to where it needs to be. And so
Yep.
A lot of you guys, you're upset and you're panicked and you're frustrated, and we are too. And I just think it's important that you guys look at the data and make a conclusion based upon that data. And there's a live tracker that you can search for that shows you the stats. One of the things we're going to see in the next week or so, I think I might have mentioned this earlier, I don't remember, is that the number of cases is going to go way up. It's going to go crazy because the testing is going to become available. And it's very important that you guys who are out there right now keep your calm and let people know that, like, yeah, that's just because they're testing people now, so that the media can't drive this hysteria that they've been driving. I could talk about the media all day. One of my main causes in life is that I can't stand the way the media intertwines opinion and fact. In my personal belief, there should be a fact-based network that's run by a bipartisan panel. And I think if any of you out there created it, it would be a huge hit. We just don't have time.
That's for sure.
So I'm going to move on to the next question, because we can talk about media all day, dude.
Mm-hmm.
When am I going to have Ben Baller on the Real AF podcast? Ben, you got an open invite, bro. You come out here anytime. As soon as this Corona's done, you're going to be out here on it. I got to give a plug to my boy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Here's a good question. And this is a great question. A lot of pressure making decisions for a team of employees. What are you going to do to show them, I'm assuming, that you are taking care of them? Look, any of you guys out there that own a business, have employees, there's been a lot of internal thinking right now. I can tell you what we're doing. We have completely readjusted how we do everything internally here to abide by the CDC guidelines. We have split our teams into small teams of 10. We split our packing lines into multiple lines in different buildings. That way, if someone were to test positive, we wouldn't be shut down. And some of these guys, they're going to get sent home because we just don't have enough hours to put them on, and they're going to get paid. So for us, like, we've had a number of meetings. Like, our people want to work. Like, this is not everywhere. Like, people like working here. So our people want to work. So sending them home, they're not really a fan of. But everybody's cooperating, and everybody knows the importance of what we're doing here. And everybody here is willing to deal with the inconvenience and understands that, like, because my dad's around the office every day, guys. Like, my dad's 75 years old, and the way I communicated to him is, hey, what if my dad got it and he wasn't here anymore? And they get it. So we're all willing to compromise a little bit just to make sure that, everybody's safe. And, our company's going to make sure that our employees are paid no matter what. And that's that. And if this thing would last for 2 years or 5 years or however long, and we had to pay them, I would pay them every last penny until I was broke. That's just how it would go. I'm not going to let any employee lose because of this scenario. It's not going to happen. I'll lose first before they do. That's the truth. And I think that's how you run a business. That's how you should run it.
Yeah, we've both been talking about that in both of our businesses, and we just both committed to that. And then the other thing too is that as a leader of a business, whether you got 2 people or 20 people, you have to 10 times your communication right now. However much you communicated before, it's 10 times more right now. The thing that people need to know is that they're hearing from you, that you're in dialogue with them, that you're being transparent with them. It's when you're quiet and it's noisy in the world, that contrast scares people. So when the world is noisy, you can't be quiet with your team, with your employees. And so you got to rise above that noise, hyper communication, more than you've ever done before, and be honest, be transparent with them, and be candid. I was saying in our Arte Syndicate call this week, Jack Welch just passed away, the CEO of GE, and one of the things I took from all of his books is candor. Be candid with people. That's what we're being with you right now. We don't have every single answer to all this stuff. Some of you in the comments said, why do you trust the CDC? And by the way, that's a very good question. That makes me think, right? Like, very good question. The reason I defer to them so far is frankly because they've been the most consistent and they haven't had the biggest spikes and ups and downs of misinformation. That's why I've been trusting them so far. But again, even that, where I'm getting my information from, I need to be asking questions all the time. So 100% be communicating more with people.
This
how are
question
you
here
how
goes
are you
right along with what you're talking about, Ed, which is
Yeah,
how do you keep your team motivated and not be influenced from the negativity? This Ed just pretty much answered that. I'm not privy to the conversation that he's been having with his team, but I could tell you what our conversations have been like. And it's been, for us, it's been like this. Hey guys, this is a big deal. It's very, very important that we pay attention to what's going on and abide by the CDC and do what they ask. And the quicker that we all do what they ask, the quicker we can get back to normal. And then I work to tell them, you know, because we are a health-based company. There's a lot of supplement brands and a lot of supplement companies out there working to like take advantage of the scenario right now. We've always been a health-based company for, not always, we were a performance-based company for a long time. We still are, but we moved to health 4 or 5 years ago. And because of that, when I talk to our team and I explain to them like, look, dude, we're helping people. We're helping people get what they need, stay on track. And in fact, by us even being available to serve them, we're giving them hope that things are still okay. And so, you know, I talk about that. I also talk about the strategic advantages that we're going to have coming out of this, like I spoke about earlier on the live, where I said, hey, look, this is a good time for us because a lot of other people that are competing with us are going to struggle, and a lot of them will stop. They'll just close business, and we'll be able to move into a space and have more market share. So that's not insensitive. That's business. So, you know, my team's competitive. We're a competitive company, and people feel good about that as well. So the momentum and the excitement of our company, I feel as almost at an all-time high. I think people, especially I could talk about in our company, are very proud to represent this brand because we have always been presenting these messages of health. And now, you know, they're not getting a message from the CEO or the higher ups, hey, go sell a bunch of immune stuff. Like, that's not what we're saying. What we're telling them is, hey, if you didn't post it last week or the week before or the week before that, and you post it now, you're off the team. And people are down with that. So I think it's a sense of pride that like, hey, dude, we're out here doing the right thing. So that's something. And also reassuring them that like, hey, you're gonna get paid as long as I got money in my pocket. And if I got to sell my house, my cars, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're going to get paid. And I think that helps to keep everybody reassured as well. And I know that they know I mean it. So that's what we've been doing. What have you guys been doing?
Well, exactly. That's what you and I have been talking about. Guys that are putting the question up, if you could take it down, there you go. You don't need that question up there covering
my sorry, brother.
Old face. One thing, I don't know that I can motivate people every day right now. So we're both communicating with them. Our teams are fired up. And to be honest with you, I have one business right now where in that business, you know, we've got some major issues to deal with right now that the light is not easy to see. Some of you are dealing with that too. My other businesses, there's a lot of light. So let me say one thing to you. If I can't motivate them, I want to grow them right now. If we're going to have to take a break, if we're going to have to rest, if we can't become motivated and inspired, I want to grow right now. I've got to find how this is happening for me. I've got to find the benefit in it. And if they're going to have some downtime, I'm growing them. So we're doing more training, more personal growth, more business growth, more growth through our sales team on sales, on the process, on the system. And so if
That's
they
a
can't
great
be
point, bro.
yeah, you got to grow right now. If they can't be inspired or motivated, take this as an opportunity to grow them and bring them more value, more training, more growth, more inspiration through personal growth and business growth strategies. So that's what we're doing.
You just reminded me of something that, a lot of you guys may know or not know, because I know a lot of you guys are not from where I'm from in St. Louis, Missouri, but we have about 30 retail stores all over the Midwest, and they're very successful stores. They're called supplement superstores. And sometimes in the Midwest, we get real bad weather. And sometimes when we get that bad weather, we have to close or for maybe 1 or 2 days, or at least traffic will be slowed for a long time, okay? And Ed just reminded me something that we always talk about whenever that happens, which is this. Number one, now we have more time to train. We have more time to learn. We have more time to practice. And number two, we have more time to support our customers, and we have more time to reach out and see what they need and how we can help them. And so we take those opportunities of the downtime to get better, just like what we were talking about a few minutes ago, so that we can move through this with more weapons in our war chest. So that you saying that, bro, reminded me of those snow days here, because back whenever we weren't, when we were a real tiny little company, dude, those snow days, I mean, you put 2 snow days, that could put us out of business,
Right,
so keeping that calm of, hey, look, we're going to get better. And what we're going to do is reach out. This also reminds me of another thing. When we first started in business, we didn't have any customers at all. And man, I can remember sitting in that retail store scared shitless. About like, where the fuck are we going to get customers? And what I'm about to share with you is a concept, not what you should do right now. What I did was I got in my car, or I went on foot, and I went to all the police and fire stations, and I just went in and introduced myself and brought them some protein bars or shaker cups or t-shirts, which we had in very limited supplies back then. And I would just introduce myself, and it did nothing. It did nothing for the financial aspect of our business right then. But by me doing that, those guys ended up remembering when it came time for them to use our services, they would come and talk to us. And what's come of it now is really cool, because now we have such a great relationship with the first responders. It's almost like we're the same team. And that's been a 20-year relationship that we've worked on literally when we had nothing to do. So the concept that I wanted to share with you guys is this. When you go out and do what you can, no matter how little or big it is, when you do what you can, even if it's as simple as having a conversation with someone about their business and your business and shaking a hand. Right now, that's not the cool thing to do. But,
right, don't do it.
But just, meeting people, that reduced my anxiety. Like, I can remember going out on trips, like, to do this, where I went around to a couple different places, and then coming back, and my anxiety level was here before, because I'm like, holy shit, no business. And then, like, when I came back, I'm like, it went here, because I knew I did what I could do. And
dude, you're making a huge point, bro. Like, this is why I wish y'all were on the RTA Syndicate with us, because we do this regularly together. But there's a huge upside. So check this out. Your home, not open right now, maybe some of your businesses. Guess what? So are most of the people you'd like to get involved in your business. What Andy's saying is huge. It can't be a handshake right now. But check this out. You're never going to have people that you'd want to prospect or get involved with you have more free time to listen to you than right now. More undistracted time than right now. This is an all-time opportunity for prospecting, for collaboration, for meeting people, for introductions, because you have their undivided attention. They don't have 100 people running out of their business right now. So that in and of itself is a huge opportunity. And then just one technical thing I want to say to all the entrepreneurs. Actually, all of you that are employees too. With all the noise that's out there about, we're going to get a lockdown, we're not going to get a lockdown. Don't shake hands, it's airborne, it's not airborne, it's only old people. Oh no, now it's hurting young people. All that noise. there was something truly significant that was announced that may provide cash flow for you right now. And that is the fact that April 15th is no longer tax day. It's now July 15th. And I don't know that everybody knows this, but tax day has moved to July 15th. So if you had money in reserves in your business for taxes, that is free capital to you right now for the next 90 days that you can be using to stay in business, to grow your business. If you're an employee, same thing. The taxes are not due April 15th now. And I think of all the stimulus stuff, everyone's going to get $1,000, all that. I almost feel like this has been lost, but it is a big deal for many of you right now that may not be aware of that fact. You don't have taxes due now until July 15th. So just know that, and also know that most of the people you've been trying to get to and talk to are free right now. Talk to them, Zoom with them, communicate with them, get in those meetings right now, because you may not get their undivided attention ever again.
That's right. Hey, dude, I'm going to pull one up. It's going to switch gears a little bit.
Okay, cool.
How is the best way to tell your kids about COVID-19? Ed, I'll let you start on this one because you have kids and I don't.
Yeah, it's a well, but you and I talk about this stuff all the time, and you got nieces and nephews, so we'll both answer that. So my kids are teenagers, and I'll be honest with you, I've been truthful and transparent with them what it's about. But one of the hardest things, all the parents right now are going to go, amen. For you parents that are being vigilant, the darn parents who are not being that way with their kids are killing me. So my daughter literally right before we went live was like, hey, Dad, so-and-so is going to have 8 people. He's going, I'm like, what parent is having 8 kids over their house right now? So my kids are clear that, hey, we're fine. We're fortunate. We're blessed. There's food in our refrigerator. We're staying locked down. Shoot, my darn kids get to look at an ocean every day. There's millions and millions of kids that are in an apartment and locked in a small space and are worried about food, for God's sakes, right? And even at that level, I'm managing this with my kids all the time. And I don't have to manage what I'm saying in my house. I have to manage what the other parents are doing. And so I'm sure a lot of you relate to that as well. What I've told my kids is this is a first of its kind type situation, but not a last of its kind. This is not the last time there's going to be a viral issue threaten people on the planet. It's not the last time. And so this is new protocols. When something like this happens, we'll learn from these, and the next time we'll be able to catch them earlier, treat them earlier, more ventilators, more masks, all that kind of stuff, probably more funding for vaccines and things like that. But having said that, this is a unique time, but it's probably not the last time. And so how we handle this as a family is really important. And my kids know, whether we like it or not, whether we're overreacting or not, and maybe we are, I don't know, we're staying here. And that's the way it's going to be. And I'm just candid and transparent. If my children were younger, it'd be a different narrative. If my kids were 5, 6, 7 years old, I'd make it more fun. I'd turn it into something fun that daddy's going to be home more often. Mama's going to be around. We're on a staycation type thing if my kids were young. And I'd treat it as we get to play more games and be together more. And I think my young kids would probably love it. When you got teenagers, it's a different time. So I understand the question, and it's just you be vigilant. Listen, you set the standard for your family. You've said this to your kids a million times. Hey, Dad, so-and-so can stay out till 1 a.m. or whatever. Well, I'm not their dad. I'm your dad. And I'm having that conversation with my kids. I'm not their dad. I'm your dad. You're staying here. You're not going to a sleepover. You're not going to a party. That's insane. And it's not because you might get sick. It's because you might carry something that could potentially get someone at risk sick, and you could actually take their life. Your grandpa in my family, my dad's in chemotherapy. He's got mesothelioma. He's got a lung infection. He's been sick for a month. You think I'm going to let you go to a party and then some point in the next month or two see your grandfather? You're crazy, right? And so it's not just that you could get sick. It's who you could infect if you became contagious. That's what I tell my kids.
Yeah, I think that's a big misconception with the younger guys and girls. Dude, come on, man. We all know what it's like to be a teenager, right? Like we want to go be with our friends. And, dude, I was the guy on spring break too, being like, fuck this. I'm going to party. I don't care what. Look, man, this ain't the time for that because people aren't understanding what the real problem is. The real problem is, yeah, man, you might not get it, but you might not also know you have it. And so we have to all kind of pretend like we have it and wait a little bit of time for it to go away. And then when we come back out, it's going to be gone. And so I really don't, it's really that simple. It's that simple. Pretend like you have it, be courteous, be kind, you know, wipe your shit down and don't go places you shouldn't be around people. Anyway, that's what they're asking, and we should all do it. That's my opinion. But,
Amen.
you know, when you were talking about that, Ed, you know, I started thinking about it because a lot of the people that are on this call, you know, they're scared, right? I think another thing that all of you who are on this call, just out of the nature of you following Ed and myself, you're likely leaders as well. Okay, so I want to address kind of what Ed said from a leadership standpoint. Guys, people will respond the way that you behave. And if you act like you're freaking the fuck out, you're going to scare your family, you're going to scare your friends, you're going to scare your employees, and dude, it's going to make it worse. So I would encourage all of you to remember that while you may not feel like a leader, because I'm going to be honest with you, and Ed knows this is true, I don't feel like a leader. I still look around and I'm like, why the fuck do people listen to me? I think that do I not say that to you?
You do very regularly.
So,
yeah. And then I explain to you why.
Yeah. But like, and I appreciate that, brother, because I need it sometimes. But, you know, I can relate to people that don't feel like other people are really watching them or care what they say. And so, guys, you have to realize that no matter who you are, no matter what you're about, no matter where you are, if you're in this feed right now, you're a leader of some sort. You might just be a parent. You could be a stay-at-home mom, but you're the leader of those kids in your family, okay? So staying calm and behaving a certain way is very important right now so we don't freak everybody out, because what's happened here is we had a media system who has a political agenda fucking go crazy, okay? And that scares us. It scares me. It scares Ed. It scares everybody. And it's important for us to stay calm, because as the leaders of what's going on, people naturally will repeat behaviors they see from you. And so, guys, please recognize that you're the leader of some people, and please recognize that they're watching you, and please recognize that their internal peace and their internal feelings about what's going on right now are going to come from you. So it's very important that we address things factually and non-emotionally in these scenarios. You know, great leaders in times of distress keep their calm. They stay calm. They stay cool. They know what decisions to make. It's not that they know what decisions to make. Nobody knows what the decisions to make all the time. But what they're able to do is they're able to separate their emotions from the actual data that's in front of them, and they're able to make decisions based upon that data. And it seems like they know what they're doing, but in reality, all they're doing is looking at the math and saying, well, the math says this, this is what I think, this is what we're going to do. And I would encourage all of you to do the same, because it'll bring a level of peace to your household and your community and your businesses that is much needed right now.
Yeah, just remember this, everybody. Andy's right on. You don't have to believe everything you think. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. So you don't have to believe everything you think, and you don't have to act on every emotion you have. Great leaders maintain emotional control. That's what we're saying.
Yes.
Maintain emotional control. I have those emotions too. I don't have to act on them. I have negative thoughts too. I don't have to believe them. Not everything I think is true. In fact, I've thought millions of things that have been wrong in my life, and so have you. And had I been a little bit more judicious about believing everything I thought, I'd be a lot happier and a lot further ahead. And so now I don't believe everything I think. I put it through the fact meter that Andy's talking about, through that barometer. I think we'd all do ourselves a favor if we remember that. You don't got to believe everything you think, and you don't got to act on every emotion you have. Absolutely right.
Here's a question for you, brother.
Right. What is my opinion about the effects this is having on the markets? Okay. Well, I can't give direct financial advice because I'm licensed, but it's been a massive reaction for sure, a massive overreaction short term. What I'm concerned about is the market is driven on emotion, oftentimes more than it is just data. And right now, the market is down based on emotion because of the virus. That's for sure. And so if it is a short-term situation and we get ahead of this curve, this is one man's opinion who's not making any advice. I don't recommend you buy or sell anything. I see these guys out there going, oh, real estate's the best right now. No, stop. Okay, stop. Okay, so what I will tell you is the market's driven on emotion. Okay, and right now the market has been driven way down because of a massive amount of emotion on a daily basis. If it's a 2 or 3 week longer situation in the United States, it is my opinion that when those emotions subside, although the data is going to get worse, it's nowhere near as bad as the market indicates right now, meaning the market is oversold. Having said that, if this lasts 30 to 60 days longer, then the data is also bad.
Yes.
And there's predictions that GDP could be down 8%, 13%. Obviously, the country's going to go into a pretty big deficit right now. And so if people don't, if unemployment went to 20%, then we are in a really bad situation. So my answer to you is right now the market's been driven down based on emotion. And when the market's driven down based on emotion, it typically comes back. If the market's driven down based on data, which will be the case if this goes another 30 days, then all bets are off. And so, again, I would say to you, the next week or two is really critical in our businesses, in the U.S. economy, in the world economy. Good news is this. Here's some good news. The good news is we're about 2 months behind China, if you really look at it. About 2 months behind them. And we begin to mimic and increase our efforts from what they did. And if you look at that country, the death rate is very, very low. People are now going back to work, and things are returning to some form of normalcy. So that would mean we're about 30 days away or so from that being the case here. So everything is predicated upon how long this takes. So what I would tell you is, if it's 3 or 4 weeks from now and we're still in this current situation, I'm extremely concerned about the stock market and the economy, and I'd be concerned about it for the long term. If it's another week or two, I believe this was a short-term window, and there's actually an awful lot of upside coming when the data isn't quite as bad as the emotions made us think it was. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, and there's no data. I could say a little more things than what Ed could say because this is not my business. So just recognize this is my opinion. The data doesn't show that it's going to last past that. It just doesn't. If we look at China, okay, assuming that we know that their data is accurate, which we don't really know, we're guessing.
Right.
If their data is truthful, which is in question, then there's no indication that this is going to go on and on and on and on and on. I know that's kind of unsettling, but the question that is being asked over and over again, I'm not even going to post it. A lot of people are asking, well, when's a good time to invest? The truth is nobody knows. Nobody knows yet. It's a wait and see still. All of my friends who are heavy in the market and they're, they're not like playing. This is what they do. Those guys are waiting to see what's going to happen as well. So there's no advice here. Like I'm getting a lot of the same questions, Ed, on the back end. Yeah. What stock to pick or what industries do you think? I think the best thing that can happen right now is for you to stay at home, follow the directions, and pay attention to what's going on. And I think it'll become clear logically when the time will be to do that. But right now, I can tell you for sure, I'm not doing anything. And unless you changed anything since an hour ago, you're not doing anything either. So
I'm not.
We're waiting and seeing, guys. And that's where we're at.
Yeah.
I'm going to look here for one more, and then we'll.
Okay.
And I got to roll after that.
Okay.
We'll give a closing thought. How about that?
Sure.
We'll do a couple more. What do you think will happen to the fitness industry if it's put on hold for 2 more months? I think
that's your alley. That's your domain.
I think it will be like New Year's times 100. I think everybody will come out and go to the gym because they can. There's something that's not being talked about very much, and I'd like to address it. Not just in the fitness industry, but, the truth is we have it pretty good here in America. We get to do what we want. We get to go where we want for the most part and do everything and all these cool things, concerts and restaurants and whatever your lifestyle you like, we get to do those things. And right now, for a lot of people, that's been taken away. And what I think is going to happen in general is whenever this thing gets lifted, I think we're going to see some really